Okay, 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to start the broadcast. There's probably going to be a delay of about 30 seconds. In this live stream, we're going to talk about how to describe maps in academic IELTS writing task 1. Yeah, so today we'll talk about how to paraphrase introduction, how to write overviews, what kind of lexical items, what kind of advanced lexical items you can use to increase your score in lexical resource in IELTS and things like that. We will also practice writing some pieces of map descriptions, and I will also give you my feedback immediately. So let me just see that the broadcast has started, and there are some participants. Could you please just type in the chat box that you can hear and see me, and then I'll get started. If everything goes well, there should also be, this live stream is also going to be recorded. All right, and the recording will be available on the YouTube channel. So IELTS map description. So map descriptions, like any academic writing task 1, consists of 3 main elements, and these elements are introduction, overview, and detailed paragraphs. So when we talk about introduction, what we need to do is to paraphrase the task. So here's an example of a task. A map in IELTS academic writing task 1 can look something like this. Yeah. Usually there are 2 maps, maybe 2 maps of the past, maybe a map of the past and a map of the present, maybe a map of the present and a map of the future, or just 1 map. So it looks something like this. And then there is a task which says, for example, the 2 maps below show an island before and after the construction of some tourist facilities. And then there'll be the standard task. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. All right. In terms of, okay, Narmin, Evgenia, JHM, hello, thank you for your pluses. There is some delay, so I will see your commentaries. I will sometimes be looking at them, but I just won't be able to do it immediately. There is a delay of about 30 seconds. So in our introduction, we need to paraphrase the task. And one of the ways to do that is to use synonyms. That is not the only way. And I'm planning to do 2 more streams on academic writing task 1. And in the 3rd stream, I'm going to give you some other ways of paraphrasing. But now let's just look at how you can paraphrase using synonyms. The 2 maps below show, they're not below anymore when you write your introduction. They're on a separate piece of paper if you take paper delivered IELTS, or or you just write the text, and there are no maps. There is just your description. It's not below. The 2 maps show compare an island, then before and after. You can say prior to and following, construction, development, tourist facilities, amenities, or amenities, as some people pronounce it, infrastructure. So just one of the ways to paraphrase your task is to use some synonyms. All right. Then we move on to the overview. And a possible way to start your overview is to say overall. You can also use this linking word in general, but most candidates use overall. And then you can say it can be seen that, or for example, if you have 2 maps, you can say a comparison of the 2 maps reveals or shows that. Yeah, but in my opinion, it would be very nice for your lexical resource if you could use this collocation. I really like it myself. A cursory glance. Overall, a cursory glance of the 2 maps reveals that. Some people might say that, well, when there's an overview, you should already know what you're writing about. It's not a cursory glance. But my opinion is that your overview is just a general bird's eye view at the map or graph or whatever. So I use this expression. If you don't like it, use it can be seen that. Quite simple, quite primitive, but you're on the safe side. So overall, a cursory glance at the 2 maps reveals that. And then you describe some general changes on the map. I'm going on the maps. I'm going to show you some typical expressions that can be used here. By the way, you can ask me questions in the chat box or some commentaries if you wish. I'll be answering them, but just from time to time, I'll be looking at well, in the chat at the chat box, and if you have any commentaries or questions, feel free to ask. So you give this you write this introduction, like overall, it can be seen that, or cursory glance at the two maps reveals that, and then you give a general overview of what happened on the map, some changes, yeah? So the area witnessed dramatic or drastic changes over the period shown, or from 1995 to 2005, the city center saw significant developments, or the village changed considerably over the time period, or during the 10-year period, the industrial area was totally transformed. Over the past 20 years, the residential area was totally reconstructed. Over the time period, the region was totally redeveloped. Between 1995 and 2005, the old houses were built. The central business district was completely modernized during the time period, while the area changed from a largely rural to a mainly urban landscape. Okay, but this is so far, but you shouldn't stop here, because this description is quite general, and you need to specify this a little bit more, a little bit further. So you can say, it witnessed dramatic changes, specifically with respect to the, let's say, industrial infrastructure or urban infrastructure or whatever, or in particular, or more specifically, the leisure facilities were upgraded, or yes, it changed, or it, for example, was transformed, changing from a fishing village to a tourist attraction. Yeah, so this is what an overview can look like. And here's a map. Here are two maps for you. These two maps show the city of Stokeford in 2 years, in 1930 and 2010. So I'll give you, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes. Again, there will be a delay. So when you finish writing, I'll be probably somewhere else, but I will stop anyway, and I will give you my feedback on your writing. So if you're watching this right now, if you're watching the recording, you can also write this in the commentaries. Please try to write an overview of these two maps. So what happened? Overall, it can be seen that, or a cursory glance at the two maps reveals that, or what stands out from the two maps is that. And you can also make it another complex sentence by saying, while there was something in 1930, comma, something else happened in 2010. Just a general overview without giving any details. Let's say I will give you 3 minutes for this, and for 3 minutes, I'll keep silent. You can write your overview, put it in the chat box, and I'll give you my feedback. Okay, 2 more minutes. We're writing an overview of these two maps. All right, 1 more minute left. All right, so I will probably see your overviews later because there is, as I said, there is a delay, and you can write them at any time during this live stream. I'll give you my feedback on how you can improve your writing. You can also do it after this live stream finishes. You can also write it in the commentaries, and I will also give you my feedback within a week after this live stream. All right, so let's have a look at my sample overview. So you can start your overview like this. Overall, what stands out from the maps is that this construction is called a cleft sentence. It's good for your grammar. Or alternatively, you can write a cursory glance at the two maps reveals that. And then there is another clause of concession, a contrast clause. Whereas Stokeford used to be a quiet agricultural town, it underwent a significant transformation to become a heavily residential area with a plethora of new developments. Okay, so you can see that some of this text is marked in bold, and these expressions can be used in many different map descriptions, except if the second map is in the present, you just need to use present perfect. It has undergone a significant transformation, and it becomes something else, not necessarily a heavily residential area, but maybe something else with some types of new developments, maybe just with a few developments. Okay, well, a plethora has a connotation that there are too many, so maybe you can even just say with a lot of to be more neutral or to sound more natural. You can just write with a lot of new developments or with several new developments. Okay, so this is just a simple answer, and there are also some expressions that you can use in other maps. All right, so I can see that there are some overviews already in the commentaries. Now, Shashanka, I hope you have pronounced your name correctly. Sorry if I mispronounce it. The given maps describe the changes over 80 years for the town of Stanford. Okay, now you can change it a little bit to score higher, and instead of 80 years, you can say over an 80-year period commencing in 1930. So over an 80-year period commencing in 1930. And it will make your writing a little bit more advanced because you will use a compound adjective, compound attribute, 80-year period. And please pay attention, it's not 80 years, but 80-year period with a hyphen. And then beginning or commencing. Commence is quite an advanced word. All right, then in summary, Stanford had undergone a drastic, okay, so if you say drastic changes, you don't use a, you don't use it indefinite article in plural. And then there is no need to use past perfect. You can just say underwent. And it's a bit too general, just a little bit, just a bit too general. So you need to specify this a little bit. Yes, there were drastic changes, but what changed? So it changed from a rural area to a more residential area, or it used to be a village, but it became a town or a city or something like this. If anyone else wants to write your overviews here in the commentaries, please feel free. I'll just move on, and then if you write something, then I'll give you my commentaries. All right. So when you write your detailed paragraphs, Once again, our task is summarize the information. That's our overview by selecting and reporting the main features. So we'll talk about this now and make comparisons where relevant. We'll also talk about how to compare things on the map. And when you look at the map, you can divide these features into two paragraphs. For example, one paragraph can be about the map of the past, and the second paragraph about the map of the present, or it can be a map of the present and a map of the future. If you have one map, you can have like one paragraph about the northern area of the map and one paragraph about the southern area of the map, or like both maps. You describe first the northern part and then the southern part. So you decide, depending on what your overview is, how you structure this information. You can also, for example, concentrate on the industrial area or residential area. Okay, so some useful vocabulary for describing things on the map. Well, first of all, when you want to say where something is, instead of just saying there is, there are some, you can also use some other expressions like surrounded, ran along, is, was located, is, was situated, stood at, there was, there were, yeah. Can, could be seen, or can, could be found, or something lies, yeah. Try to paraphrase those expressions so that you can you use some variety of words. Now, you can also use compass language, north, south, east, west. And if you use it as an adjective, northern part sounds better than north part. So northern, southern, eastern, western. You can also combine in the northeast and the southwest. And you can also say the northernmost part, the southernmost part, yeah, of the map. After you've used all these like words, you can also say, for example, on the left, on the right, at the top of the map, at the bottom of the map. It's fine if you do. But compass language is probably more natural. Then very often on the map, something was built and something was demolished. And it's a good idea if you know some synonyms for to be built and for to be demolished. So for to be built, you can say it was built, it was constructed, it was erected. So it's a good idea to remember all these three synonyms. Or something was knocked down, pulled down, or demolished. So what else can happen to buildings is that it can be demolished, knocked down, flattened, replaced, renovated, built, constructed, erected, reconstructed, developed, extended, expanded, relocated, converted into something else. So these are all good words. You can use them in the passive voice. We'll also do some exercises today on this vocabulary. So it's just a small introduction first. All right. Then trees and forests. So there can also be some trees or some kinds of trees. So for example, if you see coniferous trees or deciduous trees, it's not by chance. You really, well, it's a good idea to describe them as what kind of trees they are. As for example, I think it was on this map. So you can see that here there are only two coniferous trees, but here you have coniferous trees and a deciduous tree. So a combination of coniferous and deciduous trees. It's not just by chance, it's an opportunity for you to use some specific language to describe trees like coniferous and deciduous trees. Deciduous trees are trees that have leaves, and coniferous trees are like fir tree, like Christmas tree, or pine tree, or juniper, if you know this. So these trees and forests can be cleared, cut down, chopped down, removed, or planted, right? Then roads, bridges, and railway lines can be constructed, built, extended, removed. Facilities can be, for example, opened, set up, developed, enlarged, introduced. And there, you can also describe some general change, like it developed, redeveloped, introduced, opened, industrialized, changed, transformed, modernized, improved, then pedestrianized. If it was a road, like with some traffic, but it became a pedestrian zone, a pedestrian precinct, then it was pedestrianized. So it underwent significant pedestrianization. That's what I can also say. Or it can be ruralized. Maybe it was a forest, but it became a village. So it was ruralized or urbanized. It became a city. Sometimes to describe these changes, you need 2 or 3 words, and that's redevelop, refurbish, renovate. Okay. If you're watching the recording, maybe you want to stop here and like take some notes about this vocabulary. So some of these words are useful, but we're also going to practice these words today a bit later. Then there are two words that like disappeared or vanished. You cannot use them in passive. Something disappeared, not in the passive. Some advanced words, sometimes something like some territory becomes smaller. And here's an advanced word for you. The territory was truncated. That's a good one. If you use words like this, you use them naturally with some awareness of style and collocation, then you're likely to score high in your lexical resource. Or something was unchanged. You can also describe dynamic data like graph. Something was stable or stagnant for a certain period. So you can also say it remained intact. Yeah, the building remained intact. When there is no change, it's also a key feature. You can also make this comparison. Something did not change. And to flank, when on two sides of the building, there is on the left and on the right, there is a tree, for example. So there are two trees flanking the building. So these three words are really nice, and you can use them in many tasks. If you have to describe a map. Okay, so then you also see some buildings. Some of the buildings are built, some of them are pulled down, knocked down, or demolished. And these buildings can be like a detached house. It's a house that stands separately, or a semi-detached house. That's a house that has a wall, a common wall with another house, or terraced houses, or row houses, or townhouses that go one after another. Then there can be some basic huts, and we're going to see a map of an island where there are some huts, like basic simple huts or shacks. There are some translations into Russian because most of my students are Russian, and it's just a help for them. And if you're watching this and you're from Russia, or if you speak Russian, you can also use these translations to understand better. Then they can be a tenement or an apartment complex, a block of flats, an apartment building, or a condominium, or you can come across a gated community or a cottage settlement on your map. All right. So then there can be different areas on the map, and you can also talk about them. Like there can be forested area, residential area, non-residential area. And if you don't want to repeat area, one way to paraphrase it is to say a non-residential zone, an industrial area, or a business sector. And when there is, when you're describing the second map, which shows the changes, then you can also say, well, it used to be a residential area, but it became a new industrial development. So when there's a new area, you can also call it development. So area, sector, zone, or development, like a non-residential development. Okay, now some other expressions. When something was knocked down, pulled down, or demolished, and something else was built, there are nice expressions that you can use as to make way for, to give way to, or in favor of. So it was removed, it was knocked down, pulled down, demolished, to make way for. For example, a cafe was demolished to make way for a swimming pool. Yeah, or let's say a library was knocked down to give way to let's say a tennis court or a golf course, right? Something like this. If there is a road, then you can say a road was built to provide direct access, or if you want a more advanced word, then you can say to provide unfettered access to something. Or a synonym for this would be to allow unhindered access to. These are nice collocations. So if there is a road, then you can mention there was a road was built to provide unfettered access to something, or to allow unhindered access to something. All right, please put a plus in the chat box if you think that these expressions are useful for you and you want more. Okay, I will look at the chat box a bit later. Then one more thing that you might need is to say that something is near or something is far. So what would be some synonyms for near? I was like, you can say close to, but that's also quite simple. And like, that's what if you speak Russian, in Russian we say в непосредственной близости от. So what would be some synonyms for this? I'll give you just 20, 30 seconds to write those synonyms. I'll go mute for like 20 seconds. Right. So my expressions for these are in the immediate vicinity of, or in close proximity to. You can also say within easy walking distance of, or within easy reach of. In IELTS speaking, if you want to say something fancy for near, you can say within the spitting distance. But please don't write it in your academic writing task 1. It's too spoken. Or a stone throw away. That's also an idiom, but it's too spoken for academic writing. But these ones, in the immediate vicinity of or in close proximity to, are really nice expressions. Okay. So here is an example of 2 maps. There's a map of 1995 and a map of the present. So let's skip introduction and overview. And I'll give you, let's say, 5 minutes now. And please try to write several sentences summarizing the differences. So some details that you would include in detailed paragraphs. You don't have to write the complete detailed paragraph, but just a few sentences. Okay, something you can write within 5 minutes. Try to use some of the language. Maybe you were taking notes, or maybe you know some interesting words. Okay, I'll just give you 5 minutes and I'll set the timer. Okay, Shashanka, neighboring, that's a good word. Yeah, there is also a nice expression that you can use, for, maybe even in this map description, that's adjacent area or adjoining territory or surrounding area or neighboring territory. So adjacent area, that's a nice one. If you want, you can use it. Okay, you still have 4.5 minutes to describe these 2 maps. Okay, there is still 3.5 minutes. Yes, real. Approximately, that's a word you can use, but probably not as a synonym for the word near if you're talking about maps. Okay, 2 more minutes for describing these two maps, some details. All right, 1 minute left. Okay, so I hope to see your commentaries a bit later. There could be some delay. Let me share my let me share a sample answer. Focusing on the northern part of the town, since 1995, more houses have been built on either side of the road leading to the northwest, and a new road has been laid heading westward. In the northeast, the farmland and forest park have been converted into a golf course and tennis courts, respectively. As for the south, the shops have been transformed into restaurants, across from which the fish market has been turned into a set of apartments. Down the road to the west, a car park has been added to the home, while the cafe remains unchanged, or you can say remains intact. Finally, a fishing port now extends into the sea off the coast. Okay, so that's a simple answer. Now, let's try to practice some of the vocabulary that we discussed before. And if there are any sentences about the description of these two maps before, you can write them at any time during the live stream. So let's put these words into the correct category and some words that mean to add. So which of these words here mean to add? Could you please write it in the chat? We're only dealing with this column now. So which of these words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which of the 5 verbs mean add? Please type them in the chat box. Okay, I can see some commentaries like first and foremost, the farmland in the year 1995 has been converted into a golf court. Okay, golf course. We say tennis court, but golf course. Yeah, I'll type that. Okay. Then, and the forest park is located adjacent to the farmland, is cut down and developed into a posh tennis court. Well, I'm not sure it's posh. There are also some issues with grammar, like the forest park is located, you don't need to say in, or maybe is adjacent to the farmland. And then what is cut down? There is no subject. You need to. Okay, now furthermore, towards the south, near the intersection, parking lot is added, a parking lot. And maybe if you're talking about the present, you can say has been added to the hotel for more convenience. Okay, I think it's acceptable, but you should be careful. I mean, for more convenience, you should be careful with giving generalizations or expressing your opinion why it was done. There is no task to evaluate. You just summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Now you gain see neighboring and side by side. I think you're very late in watching our live stream, which is okay. Yeah, this could be synonyms for words, synonyms for the verb to add. Now I can see extend, and there is also probably a delay, but so you'll type them later, and I will show the answers here. So synonyms for the word to add is introduce, construct, build, erect, and develop. Okay, and now could you please type the words which mean take away? So from this list, which words mean take away? Okay, so the words for take away are to remove, to knock down, to demolish, to cut down, or to pull down. Yeah, remove, knock down, demolish, cut down, pull down. All right, now let's type 5 words which mean make bigger. So you see the list is already smaller. It's easier. Okay. All right. So the words for make bigger are expand, extend, enlarge, develop, add to or be added to. Well, of course you can put this into the first category. That's not a problem. As long as you understand the words, this classification is not so principal. It's just a way for you to try to memorize other words. Okay, now change into something else. Please write 5 verbs and try to differentiate between general change and change into something else. Although it's not a matter of principles. It's just general change. If it was like a village and it became a city, that's the general change. But now we need a word for change into something else. Okay, let's also spend a minute doing this. Okay, yes, Shashanka, I can see your words that you're writing. They're correct. They're just about a minute after you're just about a minute behind. Okay, so the words for changing into something else are transform, rebuild, turn into, redevelop, or to be made into. And last 5 words for the general change are to urbanize, to pedestrianize, to modernize, industrialize, or ruralize. Okay, so these are the words. If you have any questions or commentaries, please write them in the chat box. And also, it is a nice way to use a range of grammar structures if you use nouns or instead of verbs. Because of course you can say the area was pedestrianized, it became a pedestrian precinct, but you can also say it underwent significant, and the word will be like pedestrianization. Or with Z in American English. Bill Gates doesn't like British spelling. Microsoft Word always underlines this British spelling. Okay, also please try to spend a minute writing noun forms, especially, for example, for these two. Yeah, not everyone, or for example, for this one. What are the noun forms? Okay, I'll give you a minute. Try to write as many as you can. All right, so the words are to construct, construction, demolish, demolition, introduce. Let me show you the spelling. Demolish, demolition, introduce, introduction, open, opening, remove, removal, disappear, disappearance, expand, expansion, extend, extension, develop, development, pedestrianize, pedestrianization, modernize, modernization, transform, transformation. Okay. And here's how you can use it. Another interesting development was the transformation of the park. Right? In the center of the city, the railway station has undergone an extension. All right. Then here's an example. It's just an abstract text which shows how you can use the language which we learned today for describing maps. Okay, so if we look at the developments east of the city center, it can be seen that the trees in the southeast were knocked down to make way for a new airport, and the houses just north of this area were replaced by skyscrapers. Further north, the old church was demolished, and by 2010, a new pub had been built in its place. In the center itself, the main road was pedestrianized, and a new station was constructed across the road from the southern station. A new football stadium was also erected to the west of the old station, across from which stands a new shopping center, which had replaced the factory by 2010. Finally, apartment blocks now exist in place of the old northwestern forest, which was cut down after 1995. Okay, so if you're watching the recording, you can pause this and enjoy if you wish. Now, and this is going to be a task which you can do after this live stream, and you can write your sample answer in the commentaries to this video, and I'm going to rewrite it in a more natural way, correcting your mistake in grammar, in collocations, vocabulary issues, and so on. So I will make your writing sound natural. So within the week from this live stream, in the commentaries to this video, you can post your answer to this map description after watching this live stream. I will give you my feedback in terms of correctness of grammar, vocabulary, both spelling, punctuation, and making your writing sound. I will make your writing sound natural. I will rewrite. That's what I do to my private and group students. I will rewrite your writing, your map description in a more natural way. Okay, so here we can see the two maps below show an island before and after the construction of some tourist facilities. And the task is always the same. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so here we can see basically there is a map before and a map after. It doesn't say now, so you probably shouldn't use present perfect because it's not now, it's just after. Maybe past simple is better than past perfect, but I don't insist. So if you wish to use present perfect passive, it's up to you. So we can see that there was nothing except for these trees, and these trees, they can be called palm trees or fronds. Yeah, fronds, that's a kind of, this is the kind of trees that we can see here. And then you can see that there are some basic huts that were built. A road was built to provide unfettered access somewhere. It's up to you. A pier, there was like a restaurant reception area, a circular path, footpath, then a beach for swimming. So all these things were built, constructed, and erected. And many people don't notice, but see these trees, these fronds, they remained unchanged or intact. So all this is worth mentioning in your map description. All right. A pier can also be called jetty. So here is a map description which I wrote in, I think, 2018. And I just decided to keep it for history. The maps compare a small island prior to and following the development of tourist infrastructure. Overall, what stands out from the maps is that whereas the island used to be completely undeveloped, it has undergone, you see I'm using present perfect, it has undergone a significant transformation to become a holiday venue with a plethora of new amenities. In particular, or more specifically, not only were accommodation and other facilities for tourists built, but also a pier was constructed to permit unfettered access to the island by boat. With regards to tourist facilities, it is worth noticing that a number of fronds occupy the northern and the southern parts. In the central part of the island, two separate accommodation areas were built, consisting of simple huts arranged around a circular footpath. Furthermore, a reception area and a restaurant were located in the center of these two areas. Moreover, another footpath was constructed, leading to the beach on the western edge of the island and an area there for tourists to swim. Access to the island was made possible by the construction of a pier. The pier must have been erected to facilitate tourists, making it easier for them to land safely by boat. In addition, a vehicle track connected the pier with the reception area. The vehicle track surrounded the reception area and continued a very short distance to the restaurant. To summarize, a deserted island had been, or desert island, had been turned into a tourist spot without cutting down any plants or trees. Okay, that was 2018. Then in 2020, I looked at it and thought, okay, I don't use enough advanced vocabulary, and instead of significant transformation, I changed it to striking transformation. Facilities were built, were erected to permit unfettered access, good expression, simple huts, basic huts, or it was made possible, it was rendered possible, to facilitate, to enable, to lend, to disembark. So I added some nice, clever words. That was my style back in 2020, or within the immediate vicinity. And then, well, I would estimate it as band 8. This is what I would write, something I would write now. I just rewrote this. The maps compare a small island before and after the development of tourism infrastructure. Overall, what stands out from the maps is that the island, which was once completely undeveloped, has undergone a remarkable transformation into a tourist destination with an abundance of new amenities. In particular, not only have accommodations and other facilities been built for tourists, but a pier has also been constructed, allowing unimpeded access to the island by boat. In terms of tourist facilities, it is noteworthy that a number of fronts occupy the northern and southern parts of the island. In the central part of the island, 2 separate accommodation areas were built, consisting of simple huts arranged around a circular footpath. There was also a reception area and a restaurant in the center of these 2 areas. In addition, another footpath was constructed leading to the beach on the western edge of the island and containing a swimming area for tourists. Access to the island was provided by the construction of a pier. The pier must have been erected to make it easier for tourists to land safely by boat. In addition, a lane connected the pier to the reception area. The lane went around the reception area and was located in the immediate vicinity of the restaurant. Okay, and you can also find a band 9 answer written by a native speaker and an IELTS expert. So yeah, you can just pause the video at the end and have a look at this map description. So for everyone who watches this video, there is an offer for the next 7 days. I can check your map description of this particular island and rewrite it in a more natural way, like I did with my 2018 and 2020 sample answers. Okay, so I will make it sound more natural. And it's completely free. So for anyone who does it within 8 days, so from the 11th of July today till the 18th of July, if you write your map description in the commentaries to this video, I will provide you my feedback. All right, now if there are any commentaries or questions, please feel free to write them in the chat box and I will answer. Okay, if there are no questions now, then thank you all for participation and I start my next class in 3 minutes. Okay, thank you all. How do I stop this?